Hello everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Holland Land Office Museum's Artifact video series. My name is Ryan Duffy, and I'm the director of the museum. And this week we're going to talk about the preeminent aerial daredevils from Batavia's history, and that is the Allen family, which was often known as the Flying Allens. Now, this family's history with death-defying stunts from the air can be traced back all the way to the Civil War, with James Allen, the grandfather of the family, who was a balloon observer for the Union Army during the Civil War. Now, through the generations, the family would increase the danger level to their stunts, and this would include being fired out of cannons in the air and jumping from balloons with only a parachute, and if that, and trying to land on the ground safely. Now, Edwin Allen, who is the main character for the Allen family in terms of aerial daredevilness.
So here we have a picture of the three eldest Allen children. You have Gloria and Florence, the two eldest daughters, along with Eddie Allen Jr., who is the eldest son, and they were all major performers with their father, Edwin. But as I mentioned, the Allen family tradition of aerial exploits goes back all the way to the Civil War, with James, who was Edwin Allen's grandfather, as a balloon observer during the Civil War. And his three sons also carried on the tradition. Comfort, who was Edwin's father, made jumps with his older son Warren, who was also known as Speck, or he made jumps alone. And Ed and his twin brother Edgar, who was also known as Red, would also make jumps starting as young as 11. They would ride up in a hot air balloon and glide down on a parachute while holding onto a crossbar. And their first jump occurred in Lockport. Now, Red would actually continue jumping until 1924, but he would have to stop after his balloon burst 200 feet up in the air and he was injured in the crash. But Edwin would continue on for a very long time with his solo career and then with his family. Now here we have one of the pictures of one of the many jumps that the Allens did here in Batavia. Now Edwin Allen would move to Batavia in 1926 and live on Vernon Avenue. And he began working for the P.W. Minor Shoe Company, which he would stay there until about 1937, but then he would retire and open up a service station on East Main Street, and he ran that until 1950. Now, 5 of his children would actually join in the ballooning spectacles. You had Eddie Jr., who began jumping at 18, followed by Gloria and Florence, who were his 2 eldest daughters, and they were billed as the world's youngest jumpers, and they were the ones who really had the careers take off, as they were marveled crowds in their white and black outfits and gliding down on pure white parachutes. Here's another one of the Allen's balloons that they're doing out in Aurora, New York. Now, they took their act to another level when they would actually suspend a cannon below the balloons and have the girls be shot out of it and then parachute down. And this act is what they took to a lot of county fairs and carnivals all around the country, but they always came back to Batavia as often as they could to make appearances. Now, their testing ground was actually located behind their service station on East Main Street. But in 1949, New York State outlawed performances such as the Allens, so they were forced to work out of state. Now, Edwin Allen would be known as Captain Eddie, and he would continue to jump from his balloon until 1965, when he actually broke his leg at the age of 70. And in 1977, he actually told reporters that he had made over 3,000 jumps in his lifetime. But he still went on to attend balloon rallies regularly and was often honored throughout the 1970s by a lot of regional groups, but always made sure that people knew he was from Batavia. And in fact, in 1979 and 1980, the Festival of Genesee hosted balloonists from across the United States to honor Edwin Allen for his lifetime achievements. So Captain Eddie really became the face of ballooning exploits in the United States, and he always made sure to let people know he was from Batavia, and he was very proud of that. So here we have Florence Allen in front of one of the many canisters that she would jump out of during her time in the balloon. However, the death-defying stunts of the Allen family did not come without their price, as many of the family members suffered serious injuries or worse while performing their feats. 3 of the Allen children, Gloria, Joseph, and Arlene, actually suffered severe injuries and died as a result of the accidents involved in their performances. Gloria died in 1939 after a very hard landing caused a severe brain injury that she eventually passed away from. Arlene was killed after parachuting into power lines in 1946 during a jump, And Joseph was actually killed at home while handling explosives in the basement, and they went off and caused him grievous injuries that he eventually passed away from. But it wasn't only Edwin's children that suffered, it was also his extended family. His nephew Warren Jr., so this would be Speck's son, was also killed during a jump in 1946 when he fell 75 feet from his basket. However, Edwin Allen would survive, outlive many of his children and survive well into the 1980s when he passed away in 1984. After completing all those jumps, he actually passes away peacefully of natural causes. So the life of a daredevil does not always end in tragedy and does not always end in the way maybe they imagined, but Edwin Allen ended up living a very long and successful life, even though he spent most of that time jumping from a balloon.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that edition of our Artifact video series and enjoyed learning a little bit more about the aerial daredevils known as the Flying Allens and their time here in Batavia. It's a very interesting topic, and one that something we don't really hear about anymore, is the sort of daredevils have kind of gone the way of the dodo as laws and regulations have definitely increased in terms of trying to keep everybody safe. But we can make a connection of Batavia to some of the preeminent daredevils of our country's past. Well, if you liked that video, but maybe you've missed some of them in the past, be sure to go check out our YouTube channel, Holland Land Office Museum. And you can check out the whole playlist there, as I think we've hit 60 videos now. If we haven't, we're real close. So there's a lot of information there that you can wet your whistle on in terms of our local history here in Genesee County. And if you're really interested, keep tabs, as we'll keep doing these going forward. They've been a real fun project to work on and presenting some of the information to our viewers out there, wherever you may be. But if you are really interested in the things that are going on around here, please feel free to stop by the museum, check them out for yourselves, and we'll be happy to tell you even more interesting facts behind them, and you'll be able to see them firsthand.